Welcome back, everyone. So you sent over some really fascinating material on Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit.
Yeah, it's a popular one for a reason.
Definitely. And we thought, okay, let's do a deep dive, sort of a fast track to the really core ideas, the stuff you can actually use.
Exactly. The goal is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Pull out the most useful, actionable bits from the summary we looked at.
Right. So you can really get how habits work and maybe, just maybe, start tinkering with your own.
We're going to hit the big things.
Yeah.
The habit loop, obviously.
Yeah.
Strategies for change.
Keystone habits, that's a big one. Willpower, habits in companies.
The brain science behind it a little bit, and social stuff, too.
And the thing that really clicked for me, the big aha moment,
What was that?
it's this idea that you can't really erase a habit, you have to replace it. That shift in thinking it's powerful.
It really is. It changes the whole approach.
Absolutely. And hey, if this kind of deeper look is useful for you, if you want to keep digging into insights like these,
You should definitely subscribe.
yeah, please do subscribe to the Book Talkers Podcast YouTube channel. That way you won't miss out when we tackle other interesting topics.
Okay, so where do we start? The foundation, right? The habit loop.
The habit loop, lay it out for us.
Okay, so the book breaks it down into 3 stages. There's the cue.
The trigger.
Exactly, the trigger. That little signal that tells your brain, okay, time for autopilot. Could be anything, really. Feeling bored, your phone buzzing.
Okay, that morning alarm
Totally. Then comes the routine. That's the actual behavior, the thing you do.
So boredom cue, routine is scrolling social media.
Perfect example. For phone buzzes, routine is grabbing it to check emails.
Instantly.
Without even thinking.
That's the key. And the third part is the reward. This is what your brain gets out of it. The payoff.
The little hit of pleasure or relief or distraction.
Precisely. And that reward is what locks the loop in place. Makes you want to do it again next time the cue pops up.
So the social media scroll gives you, what, a bit of connection? Distraction? Yeah. Or checking emails eases that, like fear of missing out, maybe.
Makes sense. And the book really hammers this home, right? Understanding this loop cue, routine, reward, that's step 1.
Absolutely fundamental. If you want to change anything, you first have to see the pattern.
It really makes you stop and think about your own day, doesn't it? All those little automatic things we do.
Yeah. Take a second, Think about 1 or 2 of your own habits.
Yeah.
Can you actually spot the cue, the routine, the reward?
It's kind of eye-opening when you start looking.
Definitely. And once you can see that loop playing out,
Then you can start messing with it.
well, yeah, that's where the book introduces what it calls the golden rule of habit change. This is the core strategy.
Okay, the golden rule. What is it?
The key insight is you don't fight the cue and you don't necessarily deny the reward. You keep those bookends.
Ah, so you change the middle part, the routine.
Exactly. You deliberately slot in a new routine between the existing cue and the desired reward.
The book had that example, right? Like afternoon slump hits, that's the cue.
Yeah.
Instead of the usual sugary snack routine.
You swap it.
Yeah.
You maybe get up and stretch for a minute or go chat with a colleague or make some tea.
So you're still getting a reward, maybe a break, a change of pace, some energy, but through a different action.
Precisely. And the book puts it very clearly, something like the golden rule of habit change. You can't extinguish a bad habit, you can only change it.
There it is again, that replace, don't erase idea. It takes the pressure off trying to just stop.
It really does. It feels more achievable. You're redirecting the pathway, not trying to bulldoze it.
Okay, so we understand the loop. We know the golden rule is about swapping the routine. What about these keystone habits you mentioned?
Right. Keystone habits. These are really interesting. They're not just any habits. They're sort of foundational.
Foundational how?
They're habits that, when you change them, seem to trigger a whole cascade of other positive changes, like a domino effect.
Oh, okay. So fixing one thing helps other things fall into place.
Pretty much. The classic example the book uses is regular exercise.
Right, which obviously helps with fitness.
Yes, but it often doesn't stop there. People who start exercising regularly often start eating better, almost naturally. They sleep better. Their mood improves.
Huh. And maybe they feel more productive, more confident.
Exactly. It has these ripple effects across different areas of life, even ones you weren't directly focused on.
So it's about finding those high-leverage habits.
Yeah, identify a habit that could create this kind of positive momentum. It's efficient, Focus your energy there.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Are there any habits like that, potential keystones in my life that could, kickstart other good stuff?
It's a powerful question to ask yourself. Which brings us to another crucial element: willpower.
Ah, willpower, the thing we always wish we had more of.
Well, the book has an interesting take. It describes willpower less like a character trait and more like a muscle.
Like a muscle, how so?
It can be strengthened with practice, definitely,
Mhm.
but it also gets tired. It gets fatigued if you overuse it throughout the day.
Okay, that makes sense. Like decision fatigue.
Exactly. You only have so much conscious self-control juice in the tank each day.
So the implication is don't rely on it constantly.
Pretty much. That's why routines are so important. Once something becomes a habit, an automatic routine, it doesn't drain that willpower muscle anymore.
You save your willpower for the things that really need conscious effort.
Right. And the book also mentions that things like planning ahead, making to-do lists, visualizing how you'll handle challenges, that actually seems to strengthen self-control.
So being proactive helps conserve that energy.
It seems so. You're making fewer demanding decisions on the fly.
So a practical tip from this.
Prioritize.
Yeah.
Use that fresh willpower early in the day when the muscle is strongest for the habits or tasks that require the most self-discipline.
Mm,
Don't waste it on trivial stuff.
got it. Tackle the hard habits first.
You know, it strikes me that just like building good habits needs consistency and understanding.
Yeah.
So does learning and exploring new ideas. It's an ongoing thing, right? Keeping your mind engaged. Absolutely. Continuous learning.
So if you're finding this helpful, if you want to keep that learning process going and get more insights like this regularly,
Now's a good time to hit subscribe.
it really is. Subscribe to the Book Talkers Podcast YouTube channel. It helps you stay curious and keep feeding your brain.
Okay, so we've covered the individual stuff loop, change, keystones, willpower, but the book goes broader too, right? Organizations,
Yeah.
society.
Yeah, it does. It talks about how companies actually use these same principles.
How so? Like with employees?
Both employees and customers. They try to shape employee habits to build a certain company culture. Think about routines and rituals in a workplace.
Okay, yeah. And customers.
Well, the Target example is pretty famous. Analyzing shopping data to figure out customer habits, even predict future needs, and then, send tailored ads or coupons.
Right, they're tapping into those cue routine reward loops for buying behavior.
Exactly. And it's often very intentional.
Hmm.
The book also mentions Alcoa, the aluminum company.
What is that story?
The CEO focused intensely on one keystone habit for the whole organization: worker safety.
Safety. Okay, seems important, but how is that a keystone habit for profits?
Because improving safety required changing communication routines, revamping processes. It forced improvements across the board, and guess what? Profits soared, morale went up. It had huge ripple effects.
Wow. So a keystone habit can work at an organizational level too.
Definitely. And then there's the social angle. Our habits aren't formed in a vacuum.
Peer pressure, community influence, that kind of thing.
Exactly. The groups we belong to, the support systems we have or don't have, they hugely impact our ability to change.
The book uses Alcoholics Anonymous as a powerful example here, doesn't it?
It does. It highlights how AA combines a clear framework for change with strong community support and, crucially, belief.
Belief seems key.
Absolutely. Belief that change is possible. Whether that belief is in yourself or the group or a higher power, the book argues it's a critical ingredient, especially for overcoming really tough habits like addiction.
That combination of structure, community, and belief.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground. The loop, the golden rule, keystones, willpower, organizational stuff, social factors. What about the actual brain science? Does it get technical?
Not deeply, but it touches on it. It mentions the basal ganglia, a part of the brain where habit formation is centered.
Okay.
The key takeaway is that as these pathways get carved deeper, the actions become more automatic. They require less conscious brain power.
Which explains why they're hard to break.
And why we tend to slip back into old habits when we're stressed or tired. Our brain defaults to the easiest, most ingrained path.
Knowing that can make you a bit kinder to yourself when you slip up, I guess.
Exactly. It's not just a lack of willpower, it's neurology at play.
No.
But awareness helps.
And does the book offer like a step-by-step plan for making a change, a practical framework?
It does pull it all together into a kind of process. 4 steps, basically.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, identify the routine. Be really specific about the behavior you want to change.
Step 1, know the target. Got it.
Second, experiment with rewards. This is interesting. You need to figure out what craving that routine is actually satisfying. Is it hunger? Boredom? Stress relief? You might need to try different rewards after the cue to pinpoint it.
Ah, so understand the real reward you're seeking.
Third, isolate the cue. What exactly triggers the routine? The book suggests looking at 5 categories: location, time, emotional state, other people, the immediately preceding action.
Tracking those things helps pinpoint the trigger.
Okay.
Okay.
And fourth,
Fourth.
have a plan. Once you know the cue, the routine, and the reward, you use the golden rule. Design a new routine that you will consciously implement when the cue hits, one that provides a similar reward. Write it down. Visualize it.
So it's identify, experiment, isolate, plan.
That's the essence of it. And underlying all that, for long-term success, the book really emphasizes consistency, awareness, and that belief we talked about.
Consistency, awareness, belief. That seems like a good formula.
Yeah. And when you look at the big picture the book paints, it's pretty compelling.
Yes.
It basically argues that success in almost any area of life, health, work, relationships, is fundamentally linked to mastering our daily habits. Our lives are the sum of our habits.
That's a big claim, but it resonates and it feels empowering, actually.
It is, because the core message isn't you're stuck. It's the opposite. That quote you mentioned earlier captures it perfectly. Change might not be fast and isn't always easy, but with time and effort, almost any habit can be reshaped.
It offers hope, right? These things can be changed.
Exactly. And another key quote I liked was, small wins fuel transformative changes.
Oh, I like that one too. Don't try to do everything at once.
Right. Focus on those small, achievable steps. Build momentum. Those little victories add up to big shifts over time.
It's a really practical and ultimately optimistic perspective on change.
Definitely. And look, the journey of understanding ourselves, our patterns, our habits, it's ongoing, isn't it? There's always more to learn, more aha moments waiting.
Absolutely, which is why, if you want to keep going on that journey, keep discovering these kinds of insights.
One last reminder.
Yeah, please, before you click away, hit that subscribe button for the Book Talkers Podcast YouTube channel. Join us for more deep dive.
Keep that learning habit going.
Nicely put. So, maybe a final thought to leave people with. Thinking about everything we've discussed, considering how deep these habits run, maybe ask yourself, what's just one small, everyday cue? Maybe something you never really noticed before that you might look at differently now.
Knowing the power it holds to trigger that automatic routine.
Exactly.
Oh.
What's one cue you could become more aware of today? Something to chew on.